Hello, and welcome to Havoc Wargaming, dedicated to bringing you the uncommon. For those of you who haven't met me, my name is Ron, and today we're going to do a box opening video of Gangs of Rome from Footsore. So let's get started. Last spring, I participated in the Kickstarter by Footsore for the new edition of Gangs of Rome. I've never played the original game for various reasons. My club didn't end up adopting it, but was very excited about giving it a chance. And there's been a change of heart in the club, so other people wanted to give it a chance as well. So I think at least two of us have participated in the Kickstarter. I got mine yesterday for when I'm filming this. And so I thought I would do a box opening. I'm going to be honest, I've already opened the box. I went through and made sure everything was there. This is a box reopening. I'm also not going to make much comments comparing it to the original edition because, as I just mentioned, I have nothing to go by. I've never played the first edition. A lot of the figures and miniatures that are with this are the same miniatures, but my understanding is the game rules have been changed significantly. One of the things they did with this Kickstarter is they sent me a PDF a while ago of the rules, so I have some familiarity with the rules already. I have looked over them and I haven't read them entirely, but I've been working on it. I was hoping to get a game up here before the Kickstarter arrived, and certainly before this becomes available for regular purchase online. And maybe I'll still be able to, I don't know, but I have so many figures I have to pay for it and my terrain. So this was really well sealed and packed in the package. Got it through United States Postal Service, as I said yesterday. This is just an invoice. That's the other thing I did is I went through and confirmed that everything that was supposed to be there was there, and it was. I like the fact that I had the paperwork there to do that, to make sure, and also to help define what some of the things are. So things are a little out of order now because I did that, but we'll go through and do this the best we can. So the first thing I have here is one of two Incola sets. Incolas are citizens. They have a specific role in the game. I haven't read all that section yet. I think they're kind of like NPCs, but I'm not actually sure yet. And so this is the orator, the butcher, and I'm not sure who this other one is, but he looks like, oh, he's the healer. I'm going to see what I can do to try to make these visible. This is always the hard part, but these are nice pewter figures, a little flash, but nothing too bad. They come with 3 basic MDF bases. I can either use those as they are, or I can replace them. Sally Forth makes a set that are cobblestoned, and that fit really well into their mob bases. I have a few of those already. I'll show you the mob bases and what I'm talking about for those of you who are unfamiliar when I get to them in the game. These are unnecessary, but these are wound dice. Just basically a D6 done in red with little skulls. They recommend using dice to keep track of your wounds, but you wouldn't need a custom-made set. I mean, I like the way they look, but you could have done that with any dice. You could have, used little tiny ones if you wanted. That'd be a little less noticeable. But those are the wound dice to mark the wounds to your gang members. This looks like it's my second package of Incola. I bought individual Incola too. We'll see those when I get to them, but there were 2 of these package sets as well. I'm pretty sure I bought every Incola that's available in the game right now. Yeah, so this is the Spaniard. I'm not sure who this next one is. Looks like a brute. Yeah, I don't know who either of the other 2 are offhand, but they are Incola. So again, give you an idea of what those figures look like. This is the Vigiles. These are firemen / night watchmen. This is the leader of that group. Another, I guess you'd still call it an Incola. They have a fun role. I don't know how heat is used, but the average ones, you count, you roll a dice for each of them and you do a countdown of the tokens. Every time the mob activates or is forced to a reaction, a token comes off. So as the mob gets more and more agitated, the more likely that you'll have these Vigilei show up in the game. I like that. Tisiphone is the woman there, Barca's the other one, the male. Tisiphone here is part of why, little flash there, part of what I didn't like about the original miniatures for this game. And I thought this was going to come with entirely new miniatures, so that was a mistake I made when I ordered it. I feel like a lot of the original ones were lacking. They have very stiff sculpts. Not very dynamic, not very real, very, very stiff and stuggy looking. And Tisiphone there, or however it's pronounced, is an example of that. In fact, most of the newer figures that come with this I really like. I think they're real improvements over the old one. All right, this is the Primus Domina. I do like this figure. But I think I may already own her. But I do like that. That's one of the older figures, and I do like that one. That'll be one of my gang members. This is going to take a while, but I do want to share with you. Maybe I shouldn't. My box openings tend to be my less viewed videos, so I'm not sure I'm doing them well, or that you want to see them. I'm not sure which it is. That's unfortunate because they happen to be very easy to do, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe I'm doing too easy. All right, one of these figures is a is this Orcus? I think this is Orcus. This is the Sons of Orcus. They have various deformities. I believe that this is a pre-done gang, but I'm not entirely sure. Again, they're written up in the book and they have stats in the books, but I haven't read that section yet. I haven't made it to the end of the book, so I'm not entirely sure how they use. This one, the hunchback-looking fellow here, is the only one so far that's been a multi-part character. I don't know if you, model, I don't know if you can see that, but his arm is a separate piece. But the rest of these so far have been single characters. I also made a mistake with Sons of Orcus, so there's a second one in here somewhere. Oh yeah, I just pulled them out. Maybe we should have some kind of contest or something and give those away or something. I'll figure that. I'll give some thought to that. This is one of what I was calling a mob. The mobs are not your gangs. The mobs. Oops. Let me put those back in. The mobs are supposed to represent the crowds of Rome, and they don't have enough to actually make Rome come alive, to actually be the mobs of Rome. Instead, they sort of on the table represent areas where your gang is interacting with that mob. So that's one of the things that can be confusing about the game, is one of the actions that a gang member might take is to blend into a mob to hide. Well, he can later come out of the mob and rejoin the fight, but he can do that from any mob on the table. And that's because the concept of this is that these are sort of windows or of opportunities within the mob. So it's not like he's blinking from or transporting from one mob to another. It's more like he moved into the mob here and moved out of it over here. But the thought is that the whole city street has been filled with these mobs. So it's a little abstract in that fashion, but that's a good thing to keep in mind when you're running it on how these mobs work. So the mobs have 5 characters represented on a large base. This is what I was referring to earlier. This is a mob base, and you see the cutlets are the little openings for the separate MDFs. I may end up replacing these. I have an STL for resin ones. That's one of the things that came with the Kickstarter, but as I mentioned here, I think a couple times, I don't own a 3D printer. I'm going to have to get one at some point. That's clearly the future of our hobby. But right now, Sally Forth does a set of these that are very, very nice. Sally Forth's shipping to America is pretty bad, but they do a line of figures that work well with this game that'll help fill out your mobs or add to what's available. But my favorite thing that they're doing right now is they do these, but they're all etched with cobblestones and with matching cobblestones in the separate discs. I think they are under the Glory of Rome pull-down menu on their page, not under the bases, but I could be wrong. I don't remember for sure. I remember they're a little hard to find, so they're not where I expected them to be. But those are really nice. I didn't realize these weren't going to have that, and I kind of wish now that I brought a set of mine with me to show you. Maybe I'll get a photograph and put it on the screen, or put a link to it here or something so you can see it. Something they did that I did like in the kit is they gave you what they called one mob. But in reality, they were mob sets. So I got 15 figures. There should be 15 figures here. And 3 of those bases I just showed you. Some of these guys are armed, some of them are not. Oh, I found him. Apparently I left him the side there. But there he is. There's the 5th guy. Looks like he's throwing a rock. These figures, you could mix and match them. They could be used as your mob. You could use them as gang members, particularly the guys that are armed. They'd be naturals to flip over. I'm going to go ahead and show you all of these. I hope I'm not boring you with that. These ones are a little more patrician-y looking. That one looks like he's on a cell phone. But these guys look a little more upper class than the other one does. Some of them were divided on their webpage that way. Like there's a group, in fact it's the next package I'm about to open, I think. There's a group that are a slave mob, for instance. In the game, you can have up to 5 of these mobs on the table. When you're rolling up your scenarios, or how the scenario is created, it'll tell you how busy it is, based on what time of day or whatever. So you can have up to 5 of these moving around. Yeah, so this is the slave group. I particularly like the German, or at least the Germanic looking fellow there. And also, all the way here on the end is a shout out to the show Plebes. I don't know how many of you have seen Plebes. It sounds like a dumb idea. It's kind of a stupid show, but it's really well done. It's very enjoyable. Plebes is about office workers in ancient Rome. And it's done like any other British roommates office sort of sitcom, except that it happens to be in ancient Rome. If you're here in America, you can see it on, I think it's on Prime. It might be Max, but I think it's Prime. And it's actually Freevee. It's Freevee. That's just I access Freevee through Prime. But that's, I didn't even finish what I was going to say. That slave on the end is Grumio, who's one of the characters from the show and a slave in the show. So that's my first mob. I bought 2 of those packages, and that'll give me 3 mobs, and so I didn't really need to buy the ones I already did. Here's the other dice. Oh, they're even kind of ivoryish in color. Done with Roman numerals on them. They're nice looking. They feel pretty good quality. One thing really nice about the game is the goal is to roll for successes. Is a 4 or higher is a success. So of course, being Roman numerals, if you're slow with your Roman numerals, it won't matter because if there's a V on the die, it's a success. The Sarissa does a nice set of those that have bloodstains on them, and I'm such a sucker. I bought a set of those. I don't have them yet, but I did buy those. Here's my mob 2, or my other mob. I don't know how they're numbered. These ones do look a little more workaday. They also have one of my favorite of the mob figures. Here's a guy pouring an amphora. A guy that just look unhappy. Yeah, this group's it looks like it's getting a little mad. But my favorite one is the woman on the far edge just here with her hands on her hips, screaming and yelling. So yeah, when I said I wasn't a big fan of some of the old sculpts. Some of them I really do like, so don't get me wrong. In fact, it's typically the fighters that I don't like. They tend to be holding their swords in strange positions and things. All right, here's another sort of mixed group, including a mother and a child, and a somewhat disobedient child and some tradespeople. Yet another mob. As I said, you need up to 5 of these. I think it's typically 3 to 5. So I'm in a pretty good position for the game right now with, if you include the stuff I've already bought, I've already got 3 of these mobs at home. And then there's 6 here, so I may have gotten carried away with my mobs. People in my club will be saying, big surprise, they're Again, some more. Probably really. They sent me. This was kind of. Oh, this is probably for the plastic figures, I guess. There's a whole bunch of just blank MDFs there. Then there is the gang. There is a assorted starter gang. This is 8 figures to be your gang fighters. I originally wasn't going to buy the plastic set of figures, but I wasn't aware, one, that my gang was just going to be the old figures, which I keep mentioning. I'm not a huge fan of some of them. But also, I was only getting one gang. And at the time, I didn't know that anybody else in the group would be buying into it or not. It's been my tradition through most of my time in the club to build at least 2 sides for any game that I'm introducing. And I don't think it's a bad policy to get into, because if I move, or the other person who bought into it moved, or I want to run something at a convention or something, then I'm okay to do it. These are going to be harder to show you. There's 8 of them there, but those are the basic gangs. If you go to the Footsore, the gangs, the basic gangs, the old gangs, all the old figures are already up there. I mean, they've been up there. And they have a few, I think, of the different starter gangs, or you can buy them individually, which is probably the way to go. There is this odor coming out of this box. It smells like perfume. I don't know what it is. I'm used to the smell of burning MDF, but something here smells very, very heavily perfumed or fragranced. Maybe they made it feel more period by using herbs or something. These are the acrobats. These are some of the Incola. I think they're Incola. Some of these things may be specialty figures that you can add to your own gang. The acrobats, obviously, though, they can tumble. And here's some more Vigiles. I have a couple of sets of Vigiles. All of them are a little different. These are the Vigiles with big sticks, which seems to be how they were usually armed. They're dressed in armors like Roman soldiers, but their main job was to patrol the streets at night looking for fires. Of course, a fire in a heavily wooden city in an ancient world is a huge disaster. So their job was originally to do that, and since they were out there anyway, and since a lot of suspicious behavior happens at night, they start being used more as a town guard or policing service. These are the Furtums, or Thieves, in similar fashion to the others. I'm not quite sure if these are Incola or specialties. I could make an argument for them being used both ways, that's for sure. They are Vigiles Urbani is the whole name, and I keep trying to use different parts of it. But the guards, these ones also armed with sticks, but this is the package with lanterns. I don't know if those have any advantage in the game or if it's just visual. We're almost through the characters. These are the Oskin players. The Oskin players are actors. As an actor myself, I can sympathize with these guys. They are all masked. In fact, in the roles, they refer to their names not really being their names, but they're actors who help fill their purse by selling their services as gangs. So again, these probably are specialists, or maybe it's a sample gang or gang you can use instead. This I know is an Incola. This is the leper. Footsore likes lepers. I have one for Baron's War too. They like leper figures. I don't want to make it sound like I'm promoting that Footsore is in favor of leprosy or something. These are the Rixa, which are brawlers. Again, these little more heavyweight, more experienced fist fighter types. In there, a lot of these packages, most of them are 2. This is, I think, my last group of the Urbani. These are the Halt package. It's just called that because one of the guys has his hand up like he's ordering you to stop. Some of the scenarios do use multiple Urbani. I'm not sure how they're used in the game right now. I mean, I know how they come in. I explained that earlier, but they're shown in the book as being based 2 on a larger base, and these come with the normal size bases and with 1 for each guy. So there's some discrepancy going on there. I'm not sure whether they serve in pairs or individual, or how that works. And this is definitely an Incola. This is the Puppeteer. A lot of those in color are just there to provide like some flavor, in an NPC sort of way. That gets us through the metal figures. I haven't opened this yet. This is the new plastic box. There's 30 multi-part hard plastic 28 millimeter figures in here. It's made by Wargames Atlantic. This company is doing such good work. They're about to release, here's the box. They're about to release Quar, which looks interesting. They did the original figures for 0200 Hours, all the plastic figures for that, which are some very nice figures. What else did I just get from them? I don't know. I've got something else from them that was really pleasing. They're doing some just very nice work, and I'm very glad to see where they're going with that. So I think these are probably all the same sort of sprue. So I'll just show you the one. But there's, they're multi-part pieces, different arms and legs and helmets and shields and weapons. So you can use these to make up your own gang fighters to match whatever you've designed for your unit. Or you can probably make some extra civilians if you wanted to fill out your mobs or things like that. Very nice. These are going to be available for people who want the Roman characters but aren't playing the game. I just read, I think it was last night, that these are going to be available through Wargames Atlantic directly, probably in April. Which implies to me they're not available yet or right away. I mean, it's not unusual to wait till Kickstarter people get everything. And we're early in the process. Footsore sent this Kickstarter, I say early in the process. I'm filming this on, the 5th of February. I don't know when you'll be watching it. But they sent to the furthest destinations first. So like the people in Britain haven't got any of this yet. And my imagine is they won't go live with it until everything's out there. These are the tokens. Looks like they're like it's being done a lot lately. Like they are pre-painted MDF. There's tokens that are used for activation. The red represent mob activations. The gold and the silver, each side picks a color, and that's their activations. These go into a bag and are pulled out of the bag to show who activates. The numbers down on the bottom, the 1, 2, 3, 4, have to do with how activations work. The activations are, you can do up to 4 actions in a game. You roll for success to see if you actually can do all 4. You lay out your actions in advance. You map out using those numbers, a move to the 1, maybe a fight or whatever it is you're doing. And then you roll to see how far those you get. You suffer shock. I can't remember if it's shock. You affect something like shock if you fail activations, and for each one you fail. The back of this also includes a measuring device specifically done up for the game. See if you can this without the glare. Up on the top there. There's also these big discs are objectives that you can pick up or drop or move around during the game. I really like these new MDF painted tokens. These ones are done by Sarissa, which seems to be pretty typical. They're just really classy. That's a change in the hobby that for one, I'm really enjoying. Now this I have a little familiarity with. I haven't seen the actual book yet, but I have seen the PDF of it. This is the A4 rule book. So the word I wasn't going to get it because it's an infusion on how my Kickstarter was written. I'm old school, and I much prefer hard book or actual books. It doesn't have to. It could be a paperback. But I much prefer having a real book. But the best is to have both. It's great when they do a PDF and the book, and you can put the PDF on a tablet, make it easily searchable often. It's a beautiful artwork on this book in a way that I really appreciate. They kept the original cover from the original version of the book, and it's also really makes you think of the miniseries, the HBO miniseries Rome, which I'm sure was one of the influences of the game. Some beautiful pictures of tables laying out and showing the game. They do a what's needed, like is often the case now, what you need for the game, object of the game, how it's played. Some great Little examples are shown of how the game mechanics work. But the actual basic game rules are like 30 pages long. Not really a whole lot. You can get started into this game pretty quickly. Even the scenarios are included in that first 29 pages. Then they'll give you some example gangs to get you started. The blue and red gang. And then you go into the advanced rules, and these are the parts I haven't read much of yet, but the vigiles are covered in here. The dropping of objectives, unstable terrain, which I think is a great idea. This game makes a lot of use of the terrain. It's very much like Carnivale. In fact, I think it may be inspired by some of that. It's meant to be a three-dimensional game. You're meant to go up on to the terrain. And so they have rules here for the idea of the scaffolding being shaky. So you can actually knock people off of the scaffolding by running into it. And in that same line, they've got rules here for throwing roofing tiles, bricks, or bags of grain or sacks, by picking up the terrain that's there and using it as a weapon. You can also push or pull carts to some effect. Here's the rules for game creation are in the advanced section. Specialist fighters, yeah, those other guys look like they're the brawlers, the acrobats, the thieves all look like they're specialists you can add. Then there's some samples of groups: the Daughters of Sappho, Lions of Bacchus, the Children of Epona, the Sons of Orcus, which I have 2 sets of. Idols, it says, of March. Oscan players. Lone Rome's Most Wanted, those are Barca and Tessafone, who I showed you earlier. Rules for and guidances for how to create your own scenarios. There's a bunch of scenarios in here, but there's also some rules and guidelines on how you should be guided if you're creating your own. The first couple of scenarios in the back in the scenario book are just repeats of the ones that were in the first section. Though I haven't read them fully. Maybe they have the advanced rules included or something. It seems a little odd that you're duplicating them to me, though. There's at least 12 scenarios in here. Then there's rules for doing a campaign. Haven't seen those yet, or haven't read those yet. And where to go from that? The campaign rules there's quite a bit in that section. An appendix here for using Gangs of Rome version 1 assets in version 2. I don't fully know what that means because I don't play the first game, but I do like the idea that they've come up with a way to aid you to maintain the same things if you wanted to carry them over. It also seems to include how the rules are different. There's a painting guide and a brief sort of assembly guide of those plastic figures as well. Also a guide on making terrain using the Sarissa terrain as an example. That Sarissa terrain is great. I just painted one of them up with very little additional stuff done to it, and I'm very pleased with how it looks. Oh, there's more scenarios even back here. Other campaign scenarios is what they are. And then, of course, blank sheets and charts for rolling special abilities and things on. And a glossary. A glossary doesn't know there's an index. There are reference sheets, however, in the back, and ads for Sarissa. They have copies of the tokens in here, so later, if you were to buy the rule book and not want to purchase the tokens, that's a choice available to you. You can print up your own tokens. You can, of course, find something else to use, I guess, as tokens as well. So that's it. That's Gangs of Rome. Really looking forward to getting this put up and put together for you and start playing some games. I'm so glad that my club is warmed up to the idea of playing the game. I mentioned earlier that I'm a fan of Plebes, but I'm also a fan of HBO's show Rome. The orator figure in this is clearly taken directly from Rome. And as I say, I'm pretty sure that's an inspiration of the game. I mean, this game is basically that television show with a little less of the national world stage aspects of it. But it is the theme of the game that is what you're doing. You're fighting, you're basically gang members fighting for the greater good and glory of your dominuses who are senators or wannabe senators or the power players who are affecting the world. So that's the idea of the game. If any of you play the game or have tried it before, please let me know and tell me your experiences of it in the comments section down below. Also, if you have any ideas for further content you'd like to see us produce here on Cry Havoc Wargaming, we look for that in the comments section as well. If you've enjoyed the video, I hope you'll hit like, and if you'd like to continue to receive videos like this one that may help you determine how to better spend your money or time in your tabletop wargaming hobby, then I hope you'll hit subscribe and ring our notification bell. Till next time, cheers.